one question to ask. There were refugee camps for Kashmiri Pandits because they were forced to take up shelter in some place. What examples is he able to show to specifically point out that those people who opposed terrorism were also forced into refugee camps? The fact of the matter is this: the property of Kashmiri Hindus was completely occupied by their neighbors, and effectively the rest of the fight was only between the community members who were remaining in that particular state. As far as Kashmiri Hindus were concerned, they were a thorn in the flesh who had to be removed, and whatever is happening at this particular point of time is within a particular community. So therefore this comparison is completely flawed.
Sir,
if he wants to talk numbers,
let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish.
Responsibility. Maybe if he really wants to talk numbers.
Let him finish.
That is the law.
Let him finish.
You go and take
Let him finish. Okay, I'm counting till 3 and we're going to lower your fader. 1, 2, 3. Lower his fader. If he's not going to behave, if he's going to terrorize us here on this panel by shouting, we will lower his fader. It's not acceptable. Sai Deepak, finish your point, please.
Just one point. I think if his entire point is to compare or trade bodies, the one thing that he completely misses is that Kashmiri Hindus were kicked out in the name of a particular religion because of that particular religion, because they wanted to establish Nizam-e-Mustafa. Therefore, you can't evade this particular point by simply saying we too have lost lives. The point is, you have not lost lives because you were Hindus. You lost lives because at the end of the day, you were seen as impediments by the terrorists. But as far as Hindus were concerned, they were kicked out for being Hindus. That is the central point that nobody wants to talk about. So this comparison on the basis of numbers completely misses the ethnic nature and the religious nature of this genocide that was committed. So let's be clear about this. Nobody was asking for a secular Republic of Kashmir. They were asking for Nizam-e-Mustafa. It has its own connotations which are religious in nature. This cannot be refuted. This is the fact that they're trying to obfuscate completely on the basis of numbers that have been lost. Please do not deny the fact that this may have been political, but that's secondary. This may have been economic, that may be secondary, but this was primarily religious, and that has been the case for several centuries.
Mr. Pandit, yes.
You know, just one statistic will put entire debate in perspective. 99.9% of Kashmiri Hindus were driven out. 99.9% because they were Hindus. Less than 1%, 0.5% maybe, less than 0.5% of Kashmiri Muslims, perhaps 0.1% of Kashmiri Muslim society lost its population to exodus, not because they were Muslims, only because they were seen as suspects, as mukhbirs, as impediment to jihad, as Sai Deepak said, as inconvenient people amongst them. It was for this reason, not for their faith. Only if because they were serving as security officers, or they were counterinsurgents, or they were suspects as informers. Yes, Muhammad Ayub Pandit lost his life. Yes, Rifleman Aurangzeb lost his life. Not because he was a Muslim, because he was fighting back against jihad. We lost our lives, we were moved because purely because we refused to convert. We were Hindus. We were given an option to convert and live. We refused to convert and we were told to leave or lose our lives. That is the difference. And you simply countless Muslims migrated. 0.1% of total population migrated, and they too have come back. They have access to their homes. They have access to their businesses. They have access to their orchards. Our children have not seen Kashmir. 3 decades. And you dare compare the two? This is called monkey balancing. This is plain and simple resurrecting some fictitious, concocted tragedy, exaggerated tragedy in order to neutralize a monumental tragedy. And then you start this argument in the name of humanity. That is ironical.
This is, viewers, I can only tell you this. And I want to bring in Mr. Doctor, yes, Doctor, make your point, and General Bakshi.